So what do you do if you've been contacted by Zenith Collections about a debt? Hi, I'm Scott from MoneyNerd, and it's my mission to arm you with knowledge so you can take back control of your finances. Today we're taking a look at the things you could do if you've been contacted by Zenith Collections about a debt. We're getting all of this information straight from my article from moneynerd.co.uk. I'll link in the description. But just to give you a sneak peek, it's got all of the information that we need here. And yeah, I just want to say that I'm not a financial advisor. I don't give financial advice. I'm just making sure that you have access to the information that you need so you can make an informed decision. Now, you've probably received a letter from Zenith Collections or even had them knocking at your door. When I had debt collectors chasing me back in 2010, it caused me a lot of stress and anxiety and plenty of sleepless nights. But since then, I've worked in the credit card industry for over 10 years, and I'm happy to say I've been able to use the information like that's in this video to become debt-free. So today I'd like to answer 5 frequently asked questions like, are Zenith Collections even legitimate? How to reduce your repayment amounts? How to stop Zenith Collections from contacting you? What happens if you ignore them? And what they're not allowed to do when they're collecting your debt. So question number 1 is, are Zenith Collections legitimate? If you've received a letter in the post, then this is probably your first question. If you don't recognise the company name, it might be that they've purchased your debt or they're a debt collector collecting on behalf of another company. I can confirm that Zenith Collections is a UK registered company, and whilst there are a bunch of scams out there when it comes to debt collectors, I'm afraid this is unlikely to be a scam. However, you should never pay unless you're certain that the debt is yours. You're well within your rights to ask Zenith Collections to provide proof that the debt is yours, and I've got a free letter template that you can use to confirm that the debt is yours and confirm exactly how much you owe. If you want to check out that totally free letter template, I'll link it in the description below. Okay, question number 2. What happens if you ignore Zenith Collections? Well, if you ignore debt collectors, your problem could escalate and become very serious. Zenith Collections does have the right to take court action against you, and if you were to ignore court letters, you could end up with a county court judgment, which could have a major impact on your credit score, as well as your chances of borrowing money in the future. If you do get a CCJ and you still don't pay, this could ultimately result in bailiffs coming to your home to take your valuable items or even your car. There's a big difference between having a debt collector like Zenith Collections chasing you and having bailiffs come to your home. So I can't urge you enough, now's the time to take action on your debts whilst there's still options available to you. So please don't ignore them, and we'll get to what you should do later in this video. Question number 3. What are the rules that Zenith Collections have to follow? Well, despite being legally appointed to collect your debt or outright owning your debt, there's several things that Zenith Collections can't do when it comes to collecting debts. Knowing what Zenith can and can't do will make you feel a lot more comfortable and confident when dealing with them. So here's the things they're legally not allowed to do. They're not allowed to visit your place of work without you giving them specific permission to do so. Before this rule was in place, some debt collectors would come to your work and try and make things awkward for you as a way of sort of pressuring you into paying your debt. And on a similar note, they're not allowed to speak to neighbours, friends or family about your debt. Again, this is to stop them trying to embarrass you or shame you into paying. Zenith Collections can't contact you or visit your home at unreasonable times of the day. For phone calls, most people would agree before 8 AM is too early and after 9 PM is too late. But your circumstances might be different, for example, if you work night shifts. If you can't take calls during certain times, then you should ask them to not contact you during those times. They should keep you a record of this, and they should avoid calling you during these times. And by the way, for home visits, the regulations say that debt collectors need to clearly explain the purpose and the intended outcome of the proposed visit, and they need to give you adequate notice of the date and the likely time of the visit. You're well within your rights to complain if they keep calling you or visiting your home at times that you've told them to avoid. Next, it's also good to know that they're not allowed to act in a threatening or intimidating way. Also, they should never pressurise you into paying larger instalments than you can afford or hitting payment deadlines that are impossible. The regulations also say that they're not allowed to pressure you into selling your home or to take out more credit to pay your debts. Also, it's good to know that debt collectors can't pretend to be bailiffs or enforcement agents. Unlike bailiffs, debt collectors can't force their way into your house, and they can't refuse to leave if you ask them to. And they're certainly not allowed to take any of your belongings or clamp your car. Question number 4 is, how long can you be chased for debt? Well, under the Limitation Act of 1980, a creditor has up to 6 years of chasing most unsecured unpaid debts or 12 years for some mortgage debts. This limitation period starts from the time of your last payment or when you last acknowledged the debt. Ultimately, debt collectors can't enforce their debts through the courts after 6 years, but if you've already been taken to court and have a CCJ registered against you, then unfortunately there's no time limit for how long you can be chased. Question number 5 is, how can I pay less and come to an agreement with Zenith Collections? If Zenith Debt Recovery are adding interest and charges to your debt, then you could ask them to freeze them to help you get back on track to clear your debts quicker. Debt collectors are more likely to stop or reduce interest and charges if you can prove that you're in financial difficulties. Maybe you could put together a budget showing your income and essential living costs so you can clearly demonstrate that you're in financial difficulties. You can also use that same budget to negotiate reduced payments. Again, for this you'll need to show why you can't afford higher repayments, so make sure that you're clearly showing your income and essential living costs so you can demonstrate what you can afford. Sometimes debt collectors will only agree to reduce repayments for a short period of time, and then they'll want a review of your situation. Other times debt collectors will agree to much longer repayment periods, but all of this will totally depend on the nature of your debt and your individual circumstances. If you have the cash, you could make a full and final settlement offer. This is where you ask if you can pay a lump sum instead of the full balance that you owe on your debt, and in return for that lump sum, some debt collectors will agree to write off the remainder of the debt. These are not the only debt solutions that are available in the UK. There's actually a bunch more. Some are paid, some are free, they all have their pros and cons. If you want to hear more about some of these debt solutions and potentially write off some of your debt, then you can fill out a short form which I have on my website. It's just 5 simple questions. It takes less than 30 seconds to do. Things like, what is the total amount of your debt? How many people do you owe money to? What's your living situation? Really simple questions like that. But at the end of the form, you'll get access to various debt solutions that are available in the UK, and some of which can write off some of your debt. So click the link in the description below and go and check that out now.